Ever look at a company's financials and just wish you could, instantly get what makes them tick,
Yeah.
where they're headed, and maybe what risks are lurking under the surface?
Cut through the jargon.
Exactly. Well, today that's what we're doing. We're taking a deep dive into Denta Water Infra Solutions Ltd. They're a company really making some waves in India's critical water and infrastructure space.
A really important sector right now.
Absolutely. So our plan today is to really unpack their Q1 FY26 earnings call. Now, this isn't just numbers on a page. It's like getting direct insight from the leadership, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Straight from the source.
We're aiming to pull out the key stuff, what their business segments actually do, the industry's future, their growth plans, and any potential bumps in the road or operational details you should know about. Okay, let's get into it.
Right. And earnings calls, they're so valuable because you get that firsthand perspective. It's not just the what, but the why behind the numbers, the strategy.
Let's the context. Precisely. The context. We'll sift through it and pull out the crucial bits so you come away feeling pretty well informed about Denta and, the whole water infra scene they're in.
Okay, let's jump right in then. The financials. Q1 FY26, that's April to June 2025. And honestly, it looks like a really strong start to their year.
Yeah, the top line was solid.
Revenue from operations hit 67.28 crore. But what's really notable is the growth. We're talking a 24.24% jump from the last quarter.
Q4 FY25.
Yeah, and a huge 35.92% increase compared to the same time last year, Q1 FY25. That's pretty significant growth.
Definitely suggests momentum.
So what's behind it? The company pointed to a few things. Mainly, they said they picked up the pace and execution for their water management projects. That's their core area, right?
Like that's their bread and butter.
They also got better at billing, basically getting paid faster, and hit some key project milestones. Oh, and they mentioned some delayed bills from Q4 finally came through in Q1 with more expected. So that helps too.
A bit of a catch-up effect maybe, plus underlying strength.
And that flowed through to the bottom line too, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That's where it gets really interesting from an efficiency standpoint. Their EBITDA climbed to 25 crore, and the margins, big improvement, up to 37.15% from about 34.2% last quarter.
Wow, okay.
And profit after tax, the PT, landed at 18.55 crore. That gives them a PT margin of 26.57%, which they noted is their best in 3 quarters.
So why are those profit numbers so, impressive for this kind of company?
Well, it points strongly towards operating leverage. Basically, as they do more work, their fixed costs get spread thinner. So each extra bit of revenue adds more to the profit. It's that sweet spot.
Right, they're becoming more efficient as they scale.
Exactly. Plus, they mentioned having a good mix of projects in Q1 and, crucially, lower finance costs. We can talk more about that later, but it really helps their margins.
Okay, solid numbers then. Definitely growing and profitably. So let's peel back another layer. How does this connect to what they actually do day to day? What are their main business lines?
Well, their heartland is definitely water management projects. That's where most of their order book sits. But they aren't a one-trick pony.
Right.
They've diversified into roads, railways, and irrigation projects too.
Yeah.
It adds, another layer, spreads the risk a bit.
Smart. So what does that order book look like now?
As of the end of June 2025, it was standing at 593.68 crore. That's substantial. It gives them what they call multi-quarter revenue visibility.
Meaning they know where a good chunk of future work is coming from, right? Less guesswork.
Exactly. Reduces uncertainty, and actually it's gotten even better since then. Between June 30th and the earnings call in mid-August, they'd already secured another around an 80 crore order.
Okay, so the pipeline's looking healthy and growing.
Very much so.
Yeah.
It's a strong indicator.
All right, so beyond Denta's own performance, what about the market they're operating in? What's the demand like, especially for water stuff? And how are they positioning themselves? This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
The demand environment, well, they described it as very encouraging. And you can see why. There's this sustained push from the government.
Right. The focus on water is huge.
Huge. Water use, recycling, general infra development. It's a national priority. So Denta's tapping into that. They're actively looking beyond Karnataka, their home state.
Where are they heading?
They're targeting specific states the government has flagged as water deficient. Think Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana.
Under that Atal Bhujal Yojana scheme.
Exactly. That's the one. The focus there is very much on groundwater, recharging it, making it sustainable, improving access for people. It's vital work.
Makes sense, but they're still looking at other things too.
Yeah, they're not putting all their eggs in one basket. Still exploring, as they put it, selective opportunities in roads, railways, and, other projects back in Karnataka as well. A balanced approach.
So this focus on water infrastructure, especially the groundwater recharging,
Yeah.
how does that actually help people on the ground? What are the real-world benefits?
It's actually quite direct. Their project genuinely improve groundwater storage. And that leads to a whole cascade of good things.
Yeah.
Better health outcomes because of cleaner water access, obviously better drinking water availability, even things like improved fish culture in local water bodies, healthier livestock. It just makes the whole area more, well, livable.
So it's not just pipes and concrete, it really lifts the community.
Absolutely. And it's getting noticed at high levels, too. They mentioned the finance minister adopting a village for development based on one of their projects. Even G20 leaders and the UN General Assembly president have visited sites, specifically looking at the groundwater recharging using recycled wastewater. That's a pretty big deal, getting that kind of attention.
Yeah.
Shows the model works and it's relevant globally.
That is impressive. And turning wastewater into a resource? That's fascinating. How do they actually do that?
So the process is quite clever. They identify places suitable for groundwater recharge. Then they take sewage water, say from the Bangalore Water Supply Board, BWSSB, treat it to a secondary level. And instead of just discharging it somewhere, they use that treated water to fill up local lakes and tanks. This constantly replenishes the groundwater, ensuring it's available year-round.
Turning a problem into a solution. Very smart.
It's a really neat closed-loop system.
Okay, so with that kind of impact, that strategy, what does it mean for their future growth? They seem pretty bullish, right? What are the numbers, the targets they're talking about?
Yeah, they're definitely aiming high. Their overall target for new order inflow for this financial year, FY26, is around 1,000 crore.
₹1 billion in new orders. That's ambitious.
It is, but it's not just a number pulled out of thin air. They have specific large bids they're chasing.
Like what?
Well, there's a big water supply and sewage project in Karnataka, valued somewhere between 750, 800 crore. That's a major one.
Huge.
And they mentioned they're already the lowest bidder L1, as they say, on another tender worth about 120 crore. That's usually a very positive sign.
Right. Often means it's likely theirs.
Often, yes. It's in the final approval stage.
Yeah.
The rest of that euro 1,000 crore target, maybe another euro 100 crore or so, comes from other tenders currently in the pipeline, waiting for LOIs.
Okay. And wasn't there another really large one mentioned? Sandur?
Ah, yes, the Sandur project. That's for mineral rehabilitation in Karnataka, estimated at 850 crore. Big one. It has 4 parts.
Okay.
2 of those parts have apparently already got technical clearance and are moving towards the tender stage. They're working on estimates for the other 2. They expect the whole bidding process to wrap up by the second half of 2025.
And they're already involved.
Seems like it. They mentioned being involved in preliminary survey work, which suggests they're serious in preparing for it.
Good sign. And what about those big government schemes? Jal Jeevan Mission, Amrut, still reliable sources of work and funding? Sometimes you hear about slowdowns.
That's a crucial question for any infra player relying on government projects. But Denta was clear. Funding for JJM and Amrut is holding up strong.
No slowdowns.
No reported slowdowns in execution, or, importantly, in getting funds from the central government. In fact, they said a big chunk of their Q1 revenue actually came directly from those missions.
Okay, that provides some stability then.
Definitely. It underpins a lot of their current work.
So if orders are flowing and government funding is stable, how does that translate into their official revenue guidance? What are they projecting?
Right, the guidance. For the full year FY26, they're officially anticipating revenue around 300 crore. Interestingly, they called this a modest level and said they hope to do more.
Modest. Okay, why frame it like that?
Well, the explanation is about timing. They expect to realize about 40% of the revenue from their existing ongoing projects this year. But new projects?
Take time to ramp up.
Exactly. There's a lead time.
Yeah.
You've got detailed project reports, approvals, getting materials, treatment, then the actual work. Revenue recognition follows that process. It's not instant.
Got it. What about the next quarter, Q2?
For Q2 FY26, they guided for a 20% increase compared to Q2 of last year, FY25, which, importantly, implies a higher revenue number than they just posted for Q1 this year. So they expect things to ramp up sequentially.
Okay, and looking further out, FY27.
For FY27, the initial projection is a 30% increase over whatever they achieve in FY26.
Right. And how does the current order book feed into that?
Good question. So for the existing 594 crore order book, They expect 40% to be done in FY26 and 50% in FY27.
Okay.
Now, here's where it gets interesting for future potential. It's 40% in FY26 and 60% in FY27.
Okay.
Now, here's where it gets interesting for future potential. If they hit that 1,000 crore new order target for FY26,
Mm-hmm.
and they expect, say, 40% of that new work to be executed in FY27, well, you add that to the existing work rolling into FY27, and suddenly that initial 30% growth guidance for FY27 could potentially look quite conservative.
So the combination of existing and new orders could really accelerate things in FY27, possibly beyond their initial guidance.
Potentially, yes. It seems like they're setting a baseline, but hinting there could be significant upside if those big orders come through and execution stays on track.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, no company operates risk-free. What challenges or specific operational things did Denta talk about? What should listeners be aware of?
One really key aspect they highlighted is their financial model. They call it depth light, or even zero debt. This is pretty unusual in infrastructure.
Oh, so?
Well, it means they have minimal finance costs eating into their profits, which is a big reason for those strong margins we discussed. They mainly use debt facilities only for things like bank guarantees needed for bids, non-fund-based stuff, not for funding day-to-day operations.
So a very lean financial structure, that's a strength.
Definitely. Gives them flexibility and resilience.
Then there's competition.
In their core Karnataka water market, they say there aren't many listed competitors doing exactly what they do, especially the groundwater recharging.
Unlisted ones, though.
Oh, sure, there are unlisted players. But Denta feels their technical skills, their track record of delivering on time, and importantly, their history of maintaining projects well, that builds trust and helps them secure future orders. They don't seem overly concerned about competition hurting revenue.
And for those really big tenders, like the 700, 800 crore ones?
They expect maybe 3 or 4 bidders, as per the state procurement rules. They emphasize they calculate their bids very carefully based on material costs and treatment needs, aiming to keep those healthy margins even when bidding competitively.
Which brings us back to margins. That 37% EBITDA, 26% PAT. Is that sustainable?
They certainly aim for it to be. They point back to that lean financial model, strong execution, efficient procurement. Seem me confident. And they also suggested their margins aren't out of line with others in the sector, implying it's achievable through efficiency.
Okay. But one thing that sometimes raises eyebrows is working capital. Did that come up? I remember seeing a jump between FY24 and FY25.
Yes, that was specifically asked about, and it's an important point. Why did working capital increase significantly? Could look like a red flag, right?
Yeah, tying up cash.
But their explanation was tied directly to the IPO funds they raised. They used about 50 crore in FY25 and plan another euro crore in FY26 specifically for working capital needs to fuel growth.
How specifically?
They use that cash to place large advance orders for materials, pipes, steel, cement, stuff that takes time, maybe 20, 25 days, to get manufactured and treated before it can even be used on site.
So the money went into inventory and maybe receivables before the actual work, the revenue-generating work, kicked off.
Exactly. That inventory buildup happened before the main excavation, and laying work really started ramping up in Q1 FY26. They stress their actual underlying working capital cycle is much shorter, around 40-50 days. And crucially, they collected cash for 80% of their Q1 sales.
Okay, so it sounds like a strategic investment of IPO funds to gear up for bigger projects, not necessarily a sign of poor cash management.
That seems to be the narrative, yes. A calculated use of capital to support future execution.
Got it. And anything else? Any non-core bits and pieces?
Just briefly mentioned, they own a 195-acre coffee plantation valued around 25 crore. Sounds random, but they actually use it as collateral for bank guarantees.
Practical use then.
Seems so. And they own a resort too, but they were quick to say these are minuscule compared to the main intro business, not the core focus at all.
Okay, good to clarify. Right, so to wrap up our deep dive on Denta Water and Infra Solutions, what are the key takeaways?
Well, strong financials to start the year, definitely, driven by that core water management work.
And strategically expanding into those high-need, water-scarce states. That seems smart.
Absolutely. Plus, they've got that solid order book giving them visibility for future revenue and ambitious targets for even more growth.
Operationally, that lean debt model is a big plus. And while working capital jumped, the explanation about using IPO funds for materials seems plausible, kind of a setup for future work.
Yeah, the overall picture seems pretty resilient, focused on efficiency and profit alongside growth.
So connecting this back, what's the bigger thought here?
When you step back, Denta's story really underscores how crucial private companies, especially innovative ones, are in tackling India's huge infrastructure needs, particularly something as fundamental as water.
Right.
It leaves you with a question, though. As the demand for water infrastructure just keeps growing, how do companies like Denta manage that balance? Keep up rapid growth, but also maintain sustainable operations and those efficiencies they've built. Can this lean, focused model scale effectively to meet potentially massive future demand?
That's a really interesting question. Can they maintain that edge as they get bigger and the challenges potentially scale up too? Something definitely worth pondering.
Indeed.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Denta Water and Infra Solutions. We really hope walking through this gives you a clearer picture and maybe helps you see the infrastructure sector in a new way. Until next time, keep exploring.